info today, the 9th of August 2023. The month feels like one of those months that is going to move by pretty fast. I was like, when did we talk about the 1st of August? And it's already the 9th. But hey, 2023 has just been a roller coaster. It's just been, tons of adventure up and down. But adventure is not always, happy-go-lucky kind of adventure. Some of them are the times that you open your wallet like, who stole from me? No one did. You've spent all the money because there are a lot of things demanding for the little resources that you have. But it's all good. Keep your heads above water. We go there all right. Like we love to say in our Nigerian parlance, last. We go there all right. We'll survive. And if you want me to back it up with a song, I'll play you Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. It's more of a love song, but hey, this is a love-hate relationship we're dealing with at the moment. So thank you for staying with us. And it's been great conversation from the morning crossfire shop until this very moment. The vocal majesty just left, and yours truly, Kimberly Nwachukwu, Kim, the Oracle, the digital Oracle, the fellow OTF Madam Speaker Chanyawan, will be taking over from now till 7 p.m. And if you're wondering where Itodo is, well, he was on what's happening at Abuja, so I guess you have your answer already because you heard him earlier in the day. It means I'll be flying solo. But so as not to drag it, and you start to send me messages and wondering, is Dr. Majeed not there? Why is our intro long? Dr. Majeed is here. Very much. The Oracle. With a wide smile on his face. Just so you know.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Majeed, good to have you around.
Thank you very much.
And welcome back from your trip.
Apologies for being away last week.
Oh, apologies accepted.
Yes, it was an official engagement.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned that. And it's always important. We know you add value. So when you go for these trips, it's to add value.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. I mean, even Festus Kayamo apologized to the Senate and they accepted it. How much more you that? You're always doing us a favor.
Yes,
so you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to our listeners.
Good afternoon to every single one of you. We see you. They're all just seated and waiting
we see you and we appreciate you. Yeah. We hear you. And your encouragement keeps us going.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. You're welcome. I'm a little curious, though. Which one did you receive, Dr. Majeed? Did you receive a small token in your bank account or you received a prayer or in your email? Because Senate President apparently was caught on video telling the senators that they were going on recess pretty soon and they've sent them a little token in their account. Then he withdrew it and said, no, it is prayer in your email. We're going to play. I mean, it was really very funny. So it's been trending on social media.
Yes.
So we're asking, which one did you receive? Was it alert or prayer?
Prayer.
I would prefer alert.
Of course.
For the recess.
Oh, no, definitely.
I don't know the kind of prayer he wants to send via email. But definitely got Nigerians talking.
Exactly.
but when did they come on board that they're already talking about recess? But they usually go for the recess about this time of the year.
Yes. Okay, you want to play the clip?
Yeah, just talk, then I would find the clip.
Okay, the way our parliament operates, they are paid full-time. I mean, they are remunerated as though they are full-time government employees. But the way they actually also carry out their responsibilities seems to be part-time in a way. And so they sit for a number of days in the week for a specified number of hours, even though they will tell you that they spend more time outside of the chambers doing legislative oversight than they do there. But it's a bit relaxed for them. It's not tedious, it's not hectic.
Yeah.
So they can afford to go on recess, like you rightly pointed out. I mean, you're just resuming and you're going on recess and you're being given either token in your account or prayer in your email. So it simply tells you the lack of real seriousness in the way and manner the business of government is run in this country, really. And so it's nothing new. It's been that way for a long time. So I'm not surprised. So they get paid as though they are full-time workers, but in reality, the National Assembly operates as a part-time engagement for the members.
Perhaps that's why some people have been saying that we should, not just those who are advocating for unicameral or bicameral legislature, and those who are saying it's pay as you sit, pay as you deliberate at the end of the day. I don't know if it will work for our Nigerian system because there's so much going on. However, any way, any means to cut down cost is what Nigerians are advocating for the moment. But let's take a listen.
In order to enable all of us to enjoy her holidays, a token has been sent to our various accounts by the clerk of the National Assembly. I will not. I withdraw that statement. In order to allow you to enjoy your holiday, the Senate President has sent prayers to your mailboxes. Has sent prayers to your mailboxes to assist you to go on a safe journey and return.
All right, so the Senate prayer is a man of God who sends prayers to people.
So what is clear is that while our leaders are asking us to tighten our belts, they've removed subsidy on a very vital energy product like petrol with all the attendant consequences. They are also trying to ramp up tax drive and revenue drive.
Yeah.
We saw that coming out of the presidential...
we're looking at that story next. Go ahead.
Exactly. We've seen all sorts of measures to simply take more from the people, while those that are leading us appear to be loosening their belts to feed fat on our common patrimony. Otherwise, at a time that members of the National Assembly know that Nigerians are going through these difficulties, we've not seen any commitment towards cutting their own perks of office on their own pay packages, their remuneration, and all other luxury entitlements, particularly the very poverty-stricken country like Nigeria. We've not seen it, so they haven't given token to go on holiday. And that tells you that there is a measure of insensitivity on the part of those that are leading this country today, or should I say that are ruling us, because you can't lead in this manner. This is clearly not leadership. And this is not about the National Assembly alone. It is also happening in the executive arm of government, anywhere in government, really. They are detached from the reality of the difficulties that the people are facing today. And again, I will not fail to point out that what worries me most is that in the National Assembly, it's not only the APC that is there. It's not just the PDP. You have Labour, you have NMPP, you have other parties, you have the YPP, you have, I think you have the Accord Party as well, you have ADC. They all seem to be united in one thing going forward. They seem to have all come together to amicably feather their nests while presiding over our affairs. Otherwise, I'm still wondering at the opposition parties in the National Assembly. How come they have condoned these practices and nobody is able to speak on it? Last time I raised this issue here, some people became defensive.
Yeah, well, that's why you were away. Some people were quick to leave messages to say, Dr. Majeed is not around, but please tell him that a Labour Party senator was one of those who drilled Festus Keyamo about his treatment of the legislature when he was invited. I mean, they wanted you to know that there are those who still stood out or stand out
about the treatment of the National Assembly, not about his failure, if there are any, as Minister of State for Labour, as it concerns the people of Nigeria. What
would the failure be?
What I'm saying, what you saw on the floor was you disrespected the Senate. And it was a class thing. He was speaking on behalf of his colleagues in the Senate. He was speaking on my behalf. He didn't scrutinize the expenditure. I said, look, this money that you spent on that particular project, was it effective enough? It was diverted, or something went wrong with it that didn't benefit the people. That was not the bone of contention. It was he disrespected the Senate. He didn't come to the Senate when he was summoned to come and explain that issue. And if you notice the way that matter went, you could see that it was something that the Senate sat down to contrive to say, look, okay, raise the motion. That was why he had to apologize. If the other members of the National Assembly...
Was it contrived? Because when even the Senate president was calling who was going to second it, it took a lifetime before we got someone.
It doesn't matter. Did anybody oppose the motion and second it?
Oh, but there was a rowdy session afterwards. There were the ayes and the nays and the ayes and the nays. A minority
party like Labour and Abuja cannot drag the Senate into such a rowdy session. To the extent that Keyamo now came back to apologize.
Well, the Senate president met with the president. It felt like it was a big deal enough for a lot to happen within the shortest period of time.
Because it was a class thing for them. It has nothing to do with me. At all. There are people in that list that Labour MP should have queried their presence in the cabinet.
But would it have been the right avenue to do that on the spot while the screening was going on?
It's a screening session.
And if it wasn't in the committee to have all of the fine details...
It's not the committee. Look, let me tell you, there's a nominee there. that was inducted as an Abacha bagman, somebody who helped Abacha to loot Nigeria. He's a nominee for minister. What did the Labour MPs do about it? Just to give an example. When they were telling people to take a bow and go, how many Labour MPs came out to say, no, you have questions to answer to almost all of those people? Kemo's issue was a class thing for the senators. They wanted to show him that you disrespected us last time, so we want to get you to be humble enough to apologize to us. And that is all. How does that affect me as a common man? How? People should stop being defensive. Okay, how many Labour MPs stood up to say, we don't want this token at this time, that it is too much for us? You know, I queried the stand of Labour Party MPs, and other opposition MPs for that matter, on the largesse, the 70 billion largesse. Has anything come out of it? Have we heard a position from the Labour Party on the hardship Nigerians are facing today, either as a caucus of the National Assembly or even as a leadership of the party? I cannot cry more than the bereaved. I'm only pointing this out to say, look, people made efforts to shake off the stranglehold of the establishment political parties in Nigeria, the APC and the PDP, to the extent that they paid for it with their sweat, their blood, their time, and even their money. And we are saying that such people deserve better representation from Labour MPs, especially at this time. If it is too much to ask, if those who voted for Labour MPs think that we are bodying over nothing, so be it. It's as simple as that. If you think we are holding your representatives accountable to you because we know the sacrifices you made to get them elected, then we can rest the conversation. But let me remind you that when they talked about token, there was nobody there to oppose that token. And we know what that means. For some of us who know how the National Assembly works, we understood what the Senate President was saying. But maybe he didn't know he was still being beamed live to the nation when he made that statement. So he had to quickly bring up something else.
Apparently.
Yes. So, but if people feel that we are picking on the Labour Party and its MPs, it's not an issue. But you don't have a right to complain of the misrule or what you perceive to be the misrule of the APC, the executive branch at the central government or state government. You don't have a right to do that. Yes. Because as Nigerians, if we cannot call out those we think we support or those we identify with are not certain partisan lines, they were not patriotic enough. That it means it is not good governance you want. It is because the people that you voted for are not participating fully in the issue. That is your own problem. And that is not my problem. My problem is to call out everybody in the value chain of governance in this country, including opposition members, because they play a very critical role. Democracy is failing across the sub-region. You know why? Not because some countries are not even democratic enough. The problem is we have such a situation where people vote, where people decide to use democratic means to effect change. And that change attempt or effort is betrayed by the very beneficiaries. People will begin to seek for undemocratic means to seek redress.
Well, perhaps if it's, a snoozing time, it's a wake-up call, the reminder that expectations on you are actually different.
So people would ask, okay, since the Labour MPs and governors have done so well in these 4 years, it means if we put in more effort into democracy, it will yield better fruit. So people will now digging in more to vote outside of the establishment until the time comes that probably some of these fringe parties will become ruling parties. And let us see how they can also perform better than those they are taking over from. That is the goal some of us have, because we want to see democracy survive in this country and sustained. So when democracy comes under threat, not from the ruling party anymore, or those you consider as renegades, but those you consider as change agents. They went in there, got sucked in, and have not joined the dining table of where national resources are being shared. It's something that should worry everybody, including those who voted for them. But if they are not worried, then you have no right to criticize Bola Tinubu or any other person for what you may perceive as misrule. You don't have a right to do that.
All right. Feels like extra responsibility and pressure on those who fall in the opposition bracket. And apparently that does not include the PDP because they're part of the establishment at this point in time.
So this responsibility is more on the Labour Party. I say this because if you look at the election, I knew the budgets that the APC and the PDP drew across board for the elections. You saw an MP that was arrested in Rivers with a list of disbursement and the amount. It ran into billions of naira. Labour didn't spend a dime anywhere to win election.
Well, they spent, but maybe not half as much as others. There definitely will be money.
Who did they buy vote from? Who sold vote to Labour Party candidates? If that was the case, an Okada rider in Kaduna wouldn't have defeated both APC and PDP in that state. If it was about money, in the day, Kimberly will not lose his seat.
No, but
to
I'm
a
saying
Labour Party candidate.
it's not possible that altogether money wasn't spent. It was, but to a degree at which it was spent is minimal compared to others. They bought their forms. They must have put campaign posters up. They must have put jingles on radio and
That's not the money I'm talking about. When I mean money for elections, I don't imagine that they paid. I didn't hear of any report where Labour Party members from Abuja to wherever it is they won the election, we are known to have shared money. Rather, people came out, paid for rallies, and on election they mounted the entire polling unit and served as agents for free of charge. So who did they buy vote from? Right. Did they buy up security personnel? Did they bribe INEC officials? Who did they? It was that what led to their victory. What their victory was people power. If they spent money on some of that, it was their business. But the people decided to say, we're going to vote for a man who had integrity, Mr. Peter Obi, somebody who we felt is different, is better. And so the background effect was such that people who ran on his platform enjoyed this massive support. And they emerged as the third largest party in the country, both in the parliament and across board. That was significant. It took sacrifice. There was a woman who was injured. She came back and still cast her vote. I know what people lined up until the early morning hours of the next just to vote for Labour Party MPs and Labour Party president candidates. I witnessed it, at least in Abuja here. Those children, some of them left their schools. In fact, there was pressure that holidays should be given so that students can come home to vote. I know where most of these students wanted to vote. We knew what happened in that election. It was anti-establishment, it was establishment. And people went all out to reject monies, reject inducement, reject all form of pecuniary benefits to stand by Labour Party in that very crucial time. This is not what the people deserve. But if the people themselves who sacrifice this much feel that they deserve that all they deserve is for someone to come out and query Keyamo on behalf of his colleagues in the Senate, then that means we have a fundamental problem in this country.
No, but if
that means probably we, the people, are part of the problem.
No, if we go back to the Keyamo one, we know how the Senate president tried to ensure that nothing much was added to that.
That is his role.
And
because the president,
closed-door session.
You know why? Because the president most definitely wanted Keyamo to make the list. And so the Senate president had the duty to moderate. But because the Senate themselves was interested in shaking up Keyamo off his,
well, some perceive it as arrogance because they actually did.
That was why they had to drag it into the closed session. Meaning they were all part of that plan, that contrivement to drill down the man and bring down his shoulders. Fine, it's okay. Ego. Don't count as an achievement for Labour MP. No, don't.
All right.
It has nothing to do with you.
We'll leave it at that. And talking about the screening, I know that there are some names that have not been confirmed fully. The former governor of Kaduna State is one of those on the list also. Security checks, they say, and all of that. So we'll get to see what comes out of it. Now, some people already speculating, Dr. Majeed, that it just might be, get a replacement. Others are saying, no, be Niger. He will make it eventually. Whatever clearance is required will be done. But his is a curious case. And we know that the president met with him and Wike today. So if the president is still meeting with them, it means that, there's still some hope. But let's go on a quick break.
I'm trying to be careful because I'm not sure of the facilities here.
Oh, I understand.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
is Nigeria Info.
Team lead of Ministerial Leadership Foundation, instead of talking about is it an alert, a token in your bank account, or you got a prayer via email. And then also as to the composition of the National Assembly and expectation of the opposition, particularly Labour Party, not blending with the crowd and be faceless. You need to stand out and just stand distinct from the pack because they were put there by the people. Moving on to the next story, but just looking at some comment quickly. Just remember, we're on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info ABJ for those asking. Yes, we are. Check us on YouTube and Facebook. Engineer Ola says, I greet you, Kim and Dr. Majeed. Always enjoying you guys watching from Jos. Good to know. Oshun Kinelius. The Senate President has just proven that they aren't sensitive to our plight. It is a public mockery. It's so unfortunate we found ourselves here. We seriously lack good leadership in Nigeria. Joshua Nwahad, thanks for streaming today. Though I'll miss listening to Dr. Majeed, where you can always go back and listen. Joshua Ehimare, I don't know how we find ourselves here. Joshua also went on to say, permit me to disagree with Dr. Majeed on the criticism of Labour Party. I followed a part of the screening and there were clear action to clear ex-governors and MPs. And a clear example is how the Senate leadership prevented any questioning to Keyamo with a motion after which was asked to take leave of the Senate. And Jose Josie, is that it? Oruma says, Dr. Majeed and the Radio Oracle, welcome. Dr. Majeed is well with us. It's a pity our leaders don't care much about us. Abdullahi Mohammed, Kim, Dr. Majeed seemed to have taken the issue personal. What did he expect? If Peter Obi were to be the president, that's exactly what would happen in Nigeria. It's a system that runs the people. In Nigeria, it is the system that runs people. People don't run the system, is what he wrote there. And Ikenda Neayi says the number 3 position in Nigeria is not meant for jokes. Okay. Good submission from Dr. Majeed Wells, Dixon Omanabo, and Duha Sunday. I guess he's saying it as it is. Chris says Akpabio is too early to start speaking from both sides of his mouth. If you withdraw your statement, kindly take a bold step to asking the clerk. Oops, and it froze, so we'll get back to it. To take a miracle for the current Senate to not be a rubber stamp, Charles Effiong's opinion there. So, Dr. Majeed, going back to the particular one, just before we move on to the next story. Yeah, it's not a Otto Okotete and Danladi.
Well, for Danladi, I think it's a bit straightforward. I think there was a Supreme Court judgment or so that actually, should I say, ban him or so from holding public office for about 10 years. And I'm told that it's not yet up to the stipulated time. So that's quite understandable. For Okotete, I really don't understand what the matter is. Really, I don't know. I don't have. There are some issues. I don't know. Why I'm saying I don't know the reason is I don't think she's the only person with maybe
caught
such.
In that, yeah.
So, but some other people were allowed to, to take a bow and go, maybe. So, I just think there could be something behind the scene, which I'm not very privy to answer this time. For El-Rufai, I think it's the biggest elephant in the room now. It's the biggest issue here.
Obviously.
I say this because, one, yes, in terms of intellect, in terms of competence and capacity to deliver, you can say that El-Rufai aptly qualifies to be a minister, even in the most difficult times in Nigeria. I believe he's somebody that, when you appoint him as a minister, and you give him the right KPIs and proper guidance and monitor like Obasanjo did, I believe he can deliver. I believe so. Because at least he has the intellect, he has the energy, he has the ideas, he has the innovation to do so. However, I also have reservations about character, especially when it comes to diversity management and diversity interaction on his part. I think somehow he has managed to gain a notoriety for, should I say, extremism along religious lines. His introduction of the Muslim governorship system in Kaduna polarized that state a lot. It also deepened the rift, deepened the distrust, deepened the disunity in the state. Whereas his predecessors, from Makarufi, for example, to Namadi Sambu, to, of course, himself, I think they have all tried to heal the wounds of ethnic and religious divisions in Kaduna State. McAfee did a very fantastic work, very, very fantastic. In fact, I consider him one of the best things to happen to Kaduna in 8 years, between 1999 and 2007. And thanks to him, he somehow positioned the Southern Kaduna man, the late Patrick Yakowa. Somehow he positioned him, and by fate, by the destiny of God, he became governor, the first Christian governor, which was a watershed moment for that state. However, from having a Christian governor to now having a no-Christian deputy governor, back to back. And it's something that I was never comfortable with. And because sometimes you need to desire for yourself what you desire for others. So the same fate.
Given the peculiarity of the state and
course.
the fact that there is ethno-religious tension underlining one another.
Exactly.
Because some would say there are states where you have a healthy mix of Christians and Muslims, where you have perhaps Christians who are there, number one, number two,
like
and it's not always been a case.
It's not, that doesn't make it right. You see, for someone like Governor Jonah Jang, for example, in 2008, when it was like a civil war in Jos, I was one of those who heaped all the blames on Governor Jonah Jang. Because I believe he mismanaged the diversity so much. He was a Christian extremist as a governor who believed that the Muslims of Jos North government are not indigenous, neither are they part of the state, and they do not deserve any form of political right at all. And so he brought somebody from Panchkin government who was of his ethnic stock and religious side and forced him on the Jos North people in that tragic election, which ignited the crisis. So you can trace it to his failure of leadership. And it doesn't make it right for a Muslim to be denied the deputy governorship slot in Plateau State, or even the governorship slot, the governorship of any state. The same way it is not right to deny an Igbo man the governorship of Lagos, or a Yoruba man the governorship of Anambra State, just because of his ethnicity. So we are saying the same thing here. We're only using this Kaduna case as a reference to wherever these things are happening. I'm saying it is failure of leadership. And so he didn't manage that way. And while we are still grappling with that, his position on the Muslim ticket, even at the center, and his statements afterwards, indicates that maybe he's part of those, or a major part of an Islamization, quote-unquote, agenda, as some other people would perceive it to be, when he made statements that were translated and created a lot of buzz. Now, making such a person a minister of the Federal Republic in a secular democratic government where every religious group, ethnicity are supposed to be represented equally, it will always raise a red flag about his actions. Anything he will do as a minister will be viewed from this prism.
Given the fact that you even have some Muslim groups who said he wasn't fair to them, the Shiite, for example,
so
and
we are saying the same thing. So I'm saying that in itself should have ordinarily disqualified him from being nominated as a minister. That is enough. However, if you look at the cabinet here entirely, I do not think this alone is enough to disqualify somebody, because I do not consider this cabinet more than a compensation list. I do not really see, apart from a few nominees there, very few, handful of them, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, Ali Patre, Nkiru Onyejocha, and a few others really. I don't see it as a compensation list. I mean, somebody who won
given
election.
the volume of the governors, former governors.
Exactly. So for me, it's just like, come and take and compensate yourself for your work done, your job well done for my election. So I'm saying, whatever qualifies an Anti-Coup, for example, to be a minister, shouldn't have qualified El-Rufai from being minister. But I want to believe, but I'm not sure, this is just my thinking, that why this particular case is hanging is that there must have been a strong lobby, a strong voice behind the scene that have been pressed upon the president. If you do this, it will be a red flag for us. I have that belief. But again, this is just an opinion I'm expressing. I don't have an exclusive to this. I am not sure.
Okay.
But now, having said this, the president is also under a dilemma over El-Rufai matter. It's a serious dilemma. You know why?
Why?
El-Rufai played one of the most fundamental roles in bringing him to power. What people don't understand is this. Not thanks to El-Rufai's weaponization of identity politics, El-Rufai has emerged as the power prince of the Muslim North, which is the largest demography in this country. He has emerged as the heir apparent in terms of political influence to Muhammadu Buhari. That is why whenever El-Rufai criticizes Buhari, when one is in power, Buhari recognizes the potency of El-Rufai's importance and influence in the North. So you discover that they usually don't go against El-Rufai. They try to actually reconcile with him. When he took the president and the presidency on the Naira redesign, no governor in Nigeria would have survived such an affront. Only El-Rufai could have led such a war against the federal government and survived, because they know his importance. Why am I saying this?
Well, he was at the face of it, but he had other governors in the team also.
It was El-Rufai who took the initiative, because he saw it as a direct attempt to prevent Tinubu from becoming president. What if I took a position that power should go to the south, for example? He was instrumental in convincing his colleague governors that are also very influential within that bloc to say power should go to the south. And El-Rufai himself declined to buy presidential nomination form. Because if he had done that, a lot of support from that region would have gone for him. Because he has emerged as a very popular figure in the north. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. He's very popular. Very, very.
Popular enough to get through the primaries.
Yes.
There's some politics that might just
You know,
still be
he's
ahead,
don't
of him.
underestimate that man. He's very popular. For the same reason I've enumerated in the first part of the conversation. If you look at Nigeria very well, the most tribalistic or religiously bigoted figures are the most popular in their regions. That's why Obasanjo wasn't popular in the southwest. Why Muhammadu Buhari, former president, was very popular in the north and remain popular till today. You have to have some level of, you have to appear to be championing certain regional causes for you to be popular in that region. It comes with the downside, which is not doubt over his suitability for ministerial appointment, but the influence in that important demography from where the president reaped certain level of votes to get him elected is something you cannot underestimate.
Right.
And so if an El-Rufai feels scorned enough with this and turns against the president, it will be lethal. And so an El-Rufai is a friend you must keep at all costs and an enemy you must avoid. So I don't know how the president will balance whatever security report is having with losing a key ally like this. Look, he played a fundamental. If you know how difficult it is to sway the North, particularly the Muslim North, to vote outside of their region for somebody from another region, you would appreciate the effort he made. He was fundamental to it. And I commended him severally on this same program. And look, on this one, I will commend him. For what reason he did it, I do not know. But the optics is that power has shifted to the south. And that prevented us from sliding towards Sudan. I've always said this. So he played that role. So that is the kind of influence he has. Even though he didn't deliver Kaduna, his home state, but don't forget that Tinubu, his candidate, came close second. Came close second in Katsina. Came close second in Kano. He trailed behind the northern Hausa-speaking Fulani Muslim candidate in the person of Atiku Abubakar. That is the kind of influence these young talks came to, but today in that election. So Abba is going to discuss such an ally. Because even if I turns against Tinubu, surely at the time that we seem to, you will agree with me that in just a little over 60 days, not everybody seems to be happy with the president. If this adds to that, if El-Rufai becomes an enemy who feels conned.
But what would you do different? It's been an enemy
Only one
of
statement.
people in the past.
Let me tell you this.
Nothing significant happened to them.
When he turned enemies to
Are we not giving him too much credit?
No. I don't know how
venomous he would
I don't know
be.
how he does it, but he's venomous. Ingeniously so. He deploys his genius to it, and it can be very devastating. When he turned against Yar'Adua, he devised the word cabal. You are not using the word cabal, but I know that it was El-Rufai who devised it and popularized
Accidental civil servant.
Thank you very much.
Way to find out.
When he turned against Jonathan, we saw the results. I said he was the only one who could shake Buhari from within, and Buhari would somewhat bend towards to appease him. And when he decided Atiku would not be president and that not to go for Tinubu, he was substantially successful during difficult times.
All right.
And so he passed it. So it's a dilemma for the president. I don't know how he's going to do it. But he has to be very... my advice to him is this, as a friend. I don't know how you're going to do it. Pacify this man if I'm not going to appoint him against security report. Pacify him. He's not an enemy to have.
Are we going to make some people... So you're the only one who always say that some people cannot be bigger than the state.
No, this is not about...
If they're tangible, very legitimate security report and concerns...
This is not about the state. This is about the political establishment.
Well, aren't we trying to clip the wings of political establishment to allow for institutions to function?
I've not asked the people to vote for El-Rufai today. I'm saying his ally, a fellow establishment politician, should manage him well.
Because it's sounding as if, okay, if El-Rufai doesn't get there, the president is in trouble. He's going to wage...
I didn't say the country was in government.
The president. He's going to wage a war. It's going to be him versus the presidency.
If El-Rufai turns against the president on account of this, I don't see a miracle that will make him win 2027 election. Sometimes I come and I make certain kind of predictive analysis. I know what I'm saying.
What if Nigerians want him in the next election? Not one man El-Rufai.
That will.
Nigerians will
speaking
determine.
In terms of establishment that requires allies and power blocks to bring you to power. Tinubu is not a pro-people, he's not a populist kind of politician. He's not a massist kind of politician.
Tinubu?
Not a massist person.
The Jagaband?
Buhari was.
Since when?
Peter Obi is.
Okay.
Atiku and Tinubu are not massist kind of, they are access politicians.
Oh, okay.
They are establishment politicians. They have power blocks, they have structures that they use. Deploy resources to gather vote, to gather influence. But a Peter Obi and a Buhari has the ordinary man rooting for him without even having access to him, without even knowing him. They don't know to know him. That is what you call pro-people mass.
Oh, okay.
Masses-oriented politicians. They don't always turn out to be the best, so don't make a mistake about it. And external people can turn out to be very good sometimes too. It depends on the leadership style. But I'm saying that we are a people who does not require structure or anybody in Abuja here to win Abuja. A Tinubu will require El-Rufai to remain in Kaduna to continue to have some substantial support. And indeed, the entire Muslim because of his influence. When NBA dropped El-Rufai from their conference, remember, the northern branch of NBA pulled out immediately to form a northern arm because of him. Even though that matter was later amicably resolved. Yeah. But you saw the support, you saw the hope from his own part of the country say, why would you drop him?
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Let's hear two thoughts, then we get to the next story. Call us up on 0700 951 0000. Hello.
Hello, Kim. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Emeka. I'm coming from Koro. Please, I want to say something. It's like what he used to stand for by giving so much credit to El-Rufai for doing wrong thing in what he called giving Tinubu sort of power in the north or what do you call it to win election. It wasn't El-Rufai that did it. It was the INEC chairman in his region ability that brought.
Okay, you want to be careful with casting aspersions. Except you have proof to substantiate to regain. Don't go there.
Labour Party on what is happening in National Assembly.
Okay, apparently you can hear me. So let's move on to the next caller. Hello. All right. And you're next. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, Madam King.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. Majeed.
Good afternoon, sir.
I quite agree with
What's your name, sir?
My name is Abakar. I'm calling from Italy.
Go ahead.
I quite agree with his explanation on in person of El-Rufai. As long as politics is concerned, El-Rufai is indispensable. And we overemphasize his role in ensuring that presidents went to the south, even Bola, on the issue of the Naira design. He's very an outspoken person, uprightness person, and that's why you can see even in his books that say about, look, what is our president?
I trap it up.
For me, a cabinet investment for me, for him to join his administration. So what he's playing, guys, what he's playing now for me, I think it's more of the cabal on the previous government that tried to get back.
All right, thank you very much. Hello?
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Michael.
We're listening, Michael.
In some spaces, if people go to study something, you study what is known and practiced in your place. The way Majeed explains it, this is how El-Rufai is to all the politicians that he wants them to succeed in the north. As for me, I did not like him as a person. I cannot ever support him to be a minister in this country as a person. But the people that he worked for, they cannot throw him away because if they do, come and meet him at the end of the day. The way he plays politics in the north, he plays it that I am here. You cannot dispose it. And he played it well. But
all right, sir.
On the other hand, he's affecting the country negatively by his utterances and his behavior in one way or the other. That should be checkmate. If not, we are still operating a government of cabal.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Michael. And we'll take one and move on to another story. Hello.
Good afternoon, Kimberly. Good afternoon, my number one and only Dr. Majeed Dahiru.
Good afternoon, sir.
I remember Good afternoon, sir. I remember Abubakar Ali Ketim. I'm calling from PW Kuba. I feel like just appearing in the studio and giving you a warm hug, Dr. Majeed. A lot of people, when you're talking about El-Rufai, they don't understand the power play behind the scene. They think it's all these things. They don't know is there to President Muhammadu Buhari in northern Nigeria. After President Muhammadu Buhari, the next person the northerners respect is El-Rufai or probably Kwankwaso. So you understand the threat of his inability to be part of this government will cause. But Dr. Majeed, I know you agree with me. The bigger threat for President Asuwaju Ahmed Tinubu for 2027 is if you support the invasion of Niger. If you support the invasion of Niger, you should just forget about the contest. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much. And talking about Niger, we'll get to that in a bit. Here we have Lillian is saying, Dr. Majeed, aren't you making El-Rufai bigger than himself? The position on this one is something contrary to what you always stand for. Charles F. Young says, how did 3 on-screen nominees get through the security checks in the first place? No one should be able to be above the state. We're over 200 million people, and who is not qualified to be dropped or giving another opportunity some other time. El-Rufai always used the phrase, Jagaban extends his greetings to all of you after end of his broadcast address in Kaduna State during the Naira redesign period, says Mohammed. And Dr. Majeed, don't you think you're over-glorifying El-Rufai? The truth is, he's not qualified, and Mr. President must be brave and not further dent his image. Comrade Ogbadibo sent that one. I always agree with Dr. Majeed, but I beg to disagree in the case of El-Rufai. You're over-hyping him. And Vitaly from Lube sent that one in. I quite want to agree, but I disagree with Dr. Majeed for that analysis. El-Rufai can never be bigger than the state. Aaron Nu Yakubu from Nasarawa State, Gitata, Nigeria, he wrote. All right, let's move on to the story. All right. You want to respond?
I think there's something people are getting wrong here. And it's sometimes I wonder why people are not able to be open-minded enough. You can hate El-Rufai all you can, all you need to, if you must. There's no problem. I am talking about establishment politics that you're not part of. That drives the city and religion and money. You know what? Maybe you don't understand what I'm talking about. And that is what produced a president. In spite of the fact that there was a charge from that anti-establishment part of Nigeria to supplant establishment politics in Nigeria in 2023. But it's like a step in the right direction that will still build fruit someday if it is sustained. I am telling you that as far as president is concerned, he said Nigeria cannot do that El-Rufai. People should open their ears and listen when I'm talking. I said, this president, the same way he has compensated everybody in that list, he also won a compensation. I will talk about El-Rufai. Who is qualified in that list more than El-Rufai? On what ground? What qualifies Atiku Bagudu that is qualified to be minister from Nigeria under a Tinubu government? If I'm the president of Nigeria, if I'm to nominate prime ministers, probably I will not nominate anybody in that list to minister. And what I told about ministerial nominations, I said, Mr. President, commit class suicide. Bring the best people with highest level of integrity from all over the world, anywhere you can find them.
Well, he didn't, apparently.
That is so, I'm not even...
48 names.
That is what I'm saying. I'm not even going to the nitty-gritty of the list. So if you have assembled this compensation list, and you are now keeping the fire outside, so how are you going to manage him? Okay, so it's not about the state. It's about political survival of Tinubu himself as an individual, not the state. So it's not talking about the state. Right. Everybody said El-Rufai must be minister of state.
Well, that's the president's kettle of fish.
Simple.
Let's move on. Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, says the country's tax law would be amended to encourage remote work opportunities and grow the digital economy. He said this at the inauguration ceremony of the committee in Abuja on Tuesday. The former fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers said many existing laws in Nigeria are outdated and said there was need for comprehensive update to achieve harmonization and addressing the multiplicity of taxes, remove the burden of poor and vulnerable while addressing the concern of all investors, both big and small. And he had so much to say about that. But one thing Nigerians are talking about, he also even did talk about the MDA not being set up to collect revenues. He's pushing for exclusive tax collection by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Nigerians couldn't stop talking about the list when it was published, the number of people, the character make up the tax reform, and the fact that we have Orire Agbaje, 400 economic student of the University of Ibadan, being appointed by the president as a member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reform. And you understand that Agbaje is the president of Student Tax Club, University of Ibadan, as well as the president of the Nigerian